Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, January 26, 2022, the last hump day of the month. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. And welcome, Frankie. You are number one. And as always, I hope everyone is having a wonderful and blessed day wherever you are on the globe. Welcome, Jordan. Okay, so we are going to get started and we'll let everyone else trickle in as they usually do. All right, so today we are going to talk about grammar and spelling. Why can't people speak and spell? And what happened to cursive writing? Why have we become a nation of poor grammar and poor spellers? Now, I remember when I was in school, which was a while back. You had things like, thank you, Jordan. You had things like, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Um, you had to, learn how to print, and you had to learn cursive writing. And I don't even think they teach cursive writing in school anymore. I've noticed that, at least for me personally, I'm just speaking for myself, that when you see things on social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, people are, tweeting. And yes, there are a lot of typos, but there's also a lot of bad spelling. I mean, there are words that are just simple to spell that people misspell. Is it a mistake? Or do people really think that you spell certain words a certain way? We have words like there, and there, you know? There, THERE, you're going there. THEIR, I want to go to their house. THEY''RE, they are, they're going to school. But at what point did spelling and grammar, get to the point where we really need to, yes, Jordan, where we really need to pay attention to what we're doing? We live in a society that judges people. Welcome, Patty Deb. And we live in a society where, people do different things for work, for school. And spelling matters, grammar matters. So I ask, do you think it's fair for an employer not to hire you because of the way you spell or the way you speak? And I'm not talking speaking in terms of having an accent or something, or, it's a cultural thing, but I'm just talking about poor grammar. I have a company. I've had companies in the past, and I did not hire people who, had poor grammar. I did not hire people who could not spell, because those people were in front of customers, and they were also, writing things for me. And I used to have, writing test, um, where you had to pass it. I mean, just something simple that you would learn in sixth grade. Jordan, I'm going to open it up in a moment. So I ask, why are people um, seemingly, to the point where we just can't spell or write? When I ask for, you to sign your name, I don't want you to print it. I want you to sign it. I want cursive. And a lot of people, we're raising a generation of children who don't even know what cursive writing is. So on that note, I will open it up. Welcome, crazy lady. I'm really liking your new picture. So I'll send out some invites, and if you would like to join, you may. If not, if you want to listen, that's fine too. Okay, welcome, Jordan. First time on my show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So, did you want to add something?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, I'll say that this is a very good topic, and most of people are ignoring these things these days. They are using typos and stuff, and using, like you already said, that companies should hire people who have do not make mistakes in front of their employees, in front of their clients. So yeah, I totally agree with that, because it gives your impression of your company in front of your clients. And if you are making some basic mistakes in your grammar, and it really makes a bad impact.
Oh, okay. Would you be offended if an employer did not hire you because of poor grammar?
No, definitely I won't be. If I'm applying for a position where I have to write reports and I have to write a lot of emails, and I'm not good enough to uh, write it correctly, so I should be very well prepared before applying for that kind of position. So I shouldn't be offended. Instead, I should work hard on my spellings and on my grammar, and be a good resource for the company. Instead, I have to take it positively.
Okay, all right. Okay, crazy lady, I'm going to open it up to you. You have the mic, and welcome, Crucible Man. So, crazy lady, what would you like to add?
I agree. Uh, I taught my daughter how to write cursive. I write cursive. Like sign your name, it's sign your name. And I think that our country has gotten very lax in its grammar and stuff.
Well, let,
Um,
let me let me ask you something. You just made a very good point. You said our country. Do you think it's just America? Or do you think that it is a worldwide problem? No
I
matter
think
what language you speak, that people are speaking poor grammar in their own language.
um, I think it's percentage wise, I would have to say America has the higher numbers because most other languages and stuff, you have to put them like in a certain order or they mean completely different things. You know, like with
Okay.
this, I think
Okay.
with Spanish and stuff. I personally, I suck at spelling, but I always had a spell checker, and when the automatically checks your spelling in text and stuff, I love that feature of technology. It saves my butt a lot.
But why do you think we in America, it seems like, our grammar has just, has just gotten, it has become just so bad. Why do you think that is?
Well, when was the last time? I mean, we don't correspond. in written word like we used to? Think about it. When was the last time you had to write a letter to a lawyer or anything like that?
You are absolutely right. Growing up, my mom was a school teacher, and one thing that we always had to do is we always had to write letters. She always would say, write a letter to your grandparents, write a letter to your aunt, whatever. We had to write letters. And for my son, growing up, he sends thank you cards when he gets a gift. I mean, he's 21, and he will uh send something in text saying thank you, but he will go out and get a thank you card. That's something that I insisted on. Is something that my parents always insisted that my sister and I did. And it wasn't just get a thank you card saying, "Oh, thank you," whatever, and then you sign your name. It was you had to write. You still had to write something in the card saying what are you thanking the person for, because it is helping your skills in terms of writing, and you couldn't print it. You have to write cursive. So, crazy lady, you do bring up a very good point. When is the last time that we actually write? So do you think that's and crazy lady, do you think that social media has played a huge part in how poor we've become in spelling and speaking?
Yes. I'm a firm believer. Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. I totally agree with that because I remember when we were kids, we used to write letters and to our cousins, and but when we grew up and we started our jobs, when we entered professional life, I don't remember writing a letter to our boss or any official letter. We always write emails, and I think if we talk about not just America, and if we talk about the worldwide issue, then technology have played a very big role in this. Nowadays we have text to speech API which Google is supporting. You can just speak and it can write for you, and the spell checkers and like different plugins which help you to correct your spellings, they are playing a very important role in that. So I think technology have a very big role in that. And in technology, we can divide it in social media and then other stuff.
All right. Uh, Crucible Man, I'm going to pass the mic to you, but first I want to give shout outs to Shy Lady, uh, Young. I hope I pronounced the first name correctly. Juju, and Chill Will is back. So welcome. Okay, Crucible Man, you have the mic, and Jordan, this is the first time that you've been on my show, but we do pass the mic, and I will come around to everyone and let everyone have another say. So, Crucible Man, you do have the mic.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm of a generation where I do remember cursive writing. It was taught in schools and it was emphasized. We were graded on it, but I don't lament the lack of cursive writing really, because I think it's a symptom of other things. We don't use typewriters anymore either, and I don't know that any communication have suffered because of it. You could say a lot of things have gotten better with word processors and PCs and whatnot. I think the real downfall of poor spelling, poor grammar, poor writing in general is a lack of reading by young children today. When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, we read books until they were coming out our ears. It was just expected, and it wasn't just during school hours. We were expected to read, not just in grammar school and high school, in our off hours. We were assigned novels and we were supposed to write a book report on them all the way up through senior year in high school. And not only does does reading help you with spelling? It helps you with the meaning of words. It helps you with the context of words. You can tell what a word means by how what other words around it are being used. So, there's a real value to reading and visualizing the actual words, and then obviously being in a home that emphasizes reading and proper grammar and those types of skills. But there's no consequences anymore for poor spelling or poor grammar. People get hired all the time with atrocious grammar and atrocious English language skills. And nobody seems to care anymore because I think the paradigm has shifted. And I'm a pretty good example of that. I've got a pretty decent vocabulary. I read a lot. I know a lot of words, but my technology skills are lacking, to say the least. Anybody who knows me will vouch for that. You're more ostracized these days, or you're more criticized, you're more on the fringes of the society if you have poor technology skills than if you have poor grammar skills. There are just no consequences anymore. It's not fashionable to know how to read. I shouldn't say know how to read, but to really use the English language, have a good vocabulary. It's kind of a quaint, that was nice in the 1940s, but can you post a picture to Facebook? Do you know how to use Instagram? That's how we prioritize how we value skills in society now. I don't see it changing anytime soon, and we're the worst for it.
Okay. Well, I personally think that cursive writing and writing in general is still an important skill to have, because when you are writing, whether it be printing or cursive, you're still, when you write, you're spelling. So as you're writing, you are spelling words, and you have to make sure, or you should, be sure that those words are spelled the correct way. So, but yes, I do believe that reading is vitally important, and it does help with grammar. It does help with spelling, but I think the two should go together. And, you know, emphasis should be put on writing just as much as spelling. Whether we use a typewriter or not, and some, you're still picking up a pen and you're still writing something. So, plus you may be in a situation where you may not have your iPad or your phone or whatever, and you have to write. So I do believe that writing is just as important as reading and spelling and what have you. Chill, you have the mic.
Hey everybody,
Hey,
good
Chill.
day. Yeah, I'm so this is interesting. This is a good topic because I was always interested about why I was learning cursive. If there's something as such as print, because cursive was so hard to read per the person that was writing it, right? And it was just I felt like it's such a horrible idea to me because when am I ever going to use this outside of grade school? And so I think that's the thought process of it. I mean, of course, it's cool. Hey, you need to know it, but like this is just it's nostalgia. Like, who? I mean, unless I need to know how to, like Morse code, for instance. Like, it's nice to know it, but do I need to really know it? I don't know. I mean, it's cool, but I don't think I would want to. I could type it now. I can type it quickly. I think people read too. I think we don't maybe read books, but people read more than ever. I tend to people say no, we don't read. I think we read more than ever because the
Okay,
phone
now
is
when
there.
you say read, okay, so you're saying reading because people are reading their phones.
Yes,
So even
yes,
though they may not
yes.
read a book, but they are reading on their iPad or phone or something.
And I can tell you unequivocally, without a doubt, I read more than I ever did as a child now. More than I ever did. Scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through phones, news articles that are right at your fingertips. I read more than that. I couldn't stand reading when I was younger. Couldn't stand it because I would always fall asleep and I just wanted to get to the point. It was just like a long way to get to the point. Like, come on, tell me the story already. So it's cool if it's just for the, if you're trying to show off in like Shakespeare days, you want to show off your vernacular, who are you trying to impress? No, just tell me the story. Now, poetry is nice if we're trying to do poetry, but sometimes I just want to hear the story. Let me hear it. So, yeah, I think it's over. I think we read, and I think typing is is the new thing. Uh, just because you don't, you got to learn how to read and write initially, right? So I think everybody knows the fundamentals of it. But then when you get grown, well, nobody lets. And there's new languages come out. It's. I don't think there's nothing bad with having like to be able to do it is important, right? But I got spell
Mhm.
check now, so it's not a must. I take my brain injury and do other things, but I, I don't know. I don't know with spell check. It fell to the wayside. Technology is definitely a reason why, and not necessarily social media. I think it's just technology in general, how advanced these things are. If I can speak and write a book, how much quicker is that than writing it? You know what I mean? So like physically, like typing it or writing it. If I could just speak it out, I could get a book done in 2 days opposed to 3 weeks or something like that. That's a big deal. So we got to take that into account.
All right, but don't you think, Chill? I have a question for you, and then I'm going to pass the mic to Jordan. But Chill, don't you think that writing and spelling and grammar is important when you go to on that job interview
Oh
and
yeah,
when
yeah,
you're working?
yeah. This is what I learned. I I'm a firm believer in this. The more well dressed and well spoken that person is, I need to beware. I just need to beware because I've in my lifetime, those were some of the most horrible people I've ever met in behind the scenes, like the executives, the general. I was in the military. The generals, like I would like they would be so perfect in the real world, and behind the scenes they would just like you hear the. I would listen to some of them when people aren't around. I'm like, this is the most like cringe-worthy stuff I'm listening to from this general or whomever. So it's not everybody, but it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. But it doesn't, it's not real determinant of your intellect, how smart you are, your morals. It has nothing to do with your language. Just because you can't, speak the King's English. And although it can be important, that doesn't necessarily mean this man isn't smart, especially if I'm trying to, run a tractor or, cut some hair or like I'm a boxer. I don't think, think in some cases it's just not that important. If I'm a English teacher, of course. If I'm a teacher of children to some degree, you want to teach them the right way. But I think a lot of times us speaking the King's English is a correct way, and we think it's the correct way when there's nothing wrong with Ebonics. There's a reason why Black folks speak Ebonics. They couldn't learn to read and write. So I don't think I want to denounce my native tongue or other
Chill.
languages. So yeah.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, on the ebonics thing because first of all, I think that term ebonics is I no,
Hold on, you
and
don't like Ebonics? This is what
you
you're saying?
know,
I don't think but
yeah,
slaves couldn't be like me and you. We're speaking now. Slaves couldn't do that.
no,
Matter of fact, that people in
I
1950s and 60s or 70s, they barely could do that. So it's not so long ago we were able to actually learn in school like that the perfect English in school without being hindered. It's not far from that. So I don't want to, the way we speak and how we influence culture in general. We changed the English language. Anything we put in bling in the Bible. I mean, not a Bible, but bling in the dictionary, ain't in the dictionary, or just words that come from Ebonics. I think you got to be able to respect where it comes from, and as long as you know how to speak the King's English, it's good. But I don't want to denounce anybody's broken English or I
okay.
don't.
All right. That's fair. Jordan, you have the mic, but before I pass the mic to you, I want to read some of the things that are in the chat. Jody says spell check doesn't always suggest spelling the. I'm sorry. Spell check doesn't always suggest the right spelling, or many times suggests the wrong word for the context. Crucible Man says reading promotes better concentration. Reading on social media is highly distracting. You're absorbing very little. Jody goes on to say, so a solid knowledge is needed, phonetic knowledge of the 70 phonograms. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Plus rules of grammar, spelling, and capitalization will help anyone spell 99% of English words. Phonograms. Okay, yeah. Okay. And Juju, thanks for liking the show. Okay. So Jordan, I'm gonna pass the mic to you.
Can I say one thing just really quick though? I just want to say one thing really quick. I do know that whoever said that was right. Everybody I knew that read a lot as a child, they went through school so easily because that was half the battle, being able to read and retain information from books. So that is definitely an insurmountable plus that you get from being a great reader and writer as a young child. So I don't. It's not that I don't like it. It's just
Okay. All right. Jordan, you have the mic.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'll add on in this, like, I belong to software development organizations. I'm a software engineer by myself, and I work on tools like text to speech, and we rapidly use these stuff. But I again, I'll go to the basics. Like, if you are good at reading and writing, eventually, like nowadays we are using, like somebody commented that just you were reading that spell check doesn't always suggest the right spelling. In the same way, in future, spell check will be improvised with some AI technology, and it will help more and more uh, to not just write spelling, but also suggest you some good words, so you can add it into your conversation or into your text. But at the end of the day, you are you are the person who is writing the stuff. So if you are good at basics, if you are good at your language, then you can use that tool in a very better way than a person who don't have that capability over the language. So this is what I think, and this is what happening these days. People on social media, they are using these tools and using typos, and they have this facility to speak and spend less time on writing and just speaking and converting those words into written in the written form. But still, if you have a good basis of the language, then you can use this advanced tool in a very, very good way, in a very good manner.
Okay, so Jordan, let me ask this: what do you think about what Chill said in terms of reading a lot on social media? You know, on the phone or on the iPad. What do you think about that?
So I think that if you are just scrolling down the social media and reading the stuff, I don't consider it as a very it can never replace, like, if you sit down and read a book, it will never replace that, because it consists of random uh, stuff which comes when you scroll it, and the one thing goes and the second thing starts. It doesn't make you a very good reader as compared to a person who have a very good habit of reading books. Because when a person reads book, first of all he decide what he want to read. He chooses his interest, and then he choose the author, and he research about that author, that what kind of stuff would be interesting for him, what knowledge can be increased by reading some specific authors or some specific books. So in that way, the knowledge or the things you are learning is more, I think, it's very different than reading stuff on social media.
Okay, all right. Crazy lady, you want to add? You have the mic. Crazy lady, are you there? Okay, we'll come back around to crazy lady. Crucible man, you have the mic.
Yeah, I agree with Jordan. Because I was the one who typed that in there about concentration. There's two elements of reading, and they're both pretty obvious. One is reading to know how to spell and how to use words. The other element of it is reading for comprehension, which is where I think I part ways with the social media thing. I agree with Jordan 100%. When you're reading a book, it forces you to concentrate, and more critically, it forces you to think. And I think people who are readers, consistent readers, are thinkers. And you can develop critical thinking skills when you read. You're having to stop and think about, what did I just read? And I remember reading novels and whatnot in school, and my mind would wander. And I'd get like 5 or 6 pages into it, and I couldn't remember a damn thing. So I would go back and reread it, because I knew it wasn't just a going through the motions exercise. I needed to understand and explain what I had just read. So you really do have two legs on that stool when it comes to reading, because I think it promotes thinking. And social media reading, if you really can call it that, it's more like Jordan said, scrolling. It does just the opposite. It's very distracting. Your mind is all over the place. You're jumping from one topic to the next. I would almost argue it degrades your ability to read, because your thinking is so fractured. It's pulled in a million different directions. You never have time to absorb anything. But the other element of and you brought it up, Solid, a little earlier, when it comes to grammar and speaking. I was a hiring manager for many years, a long time ago, and I did hundreds of interviews. And now I was in sales, so it certainly was something I had to consider. Now we're sending these people out in front of customers to represent our company. They're not going to be sitting in the accounting department or in the IT department, where they're never going to see a customer. So that certainly entered into it. But within the first 10 minutes, I could tell whether this person, before we even got into their skills or their background or their resume, I could tell what kind of an impression they were making. So when you think about speaking and grammar and language and whatnot, it permeates every element of our society. Job interviews, first impressions, relationships, friendships. It really does, it can dictate the quality or style of life we have, because we're going to wind up with friends who share our grammar skills for the most part. We gravitate to people who talk like us and think like us. So you're kind of carving out at a very early age, whether you know it or not, a path that you may or may not be happy with later on. So I think it feeds into so many elements of society that when we're young, we just don't think about them because we're not aware of them. But you create first impressions in so many areas of our lives that you never get a chance for a do-over.
Okay. Shy lady?
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
I want to say that as far as reading, I think that depending on what you read, I agree with Crucible Man as far as books are concerned. I'm a book person, and reading a book is definitely different from reading online. But I do want to say that when I was uh, in the corporate world years ago, I used to read 3 newspapers faithfully every day from the time and even before the corporate world, probably when I was in elementary school, I would read the Sun Times, the Chicago Tribune, and the USA Today. Well, the USA Today wasn't out in the 70s, but it was out later, like maybe around the 1980s or whatever.
1983
Yeah, I was going to say
is when
1980s.
USA Today
But
came out.
back when I was younger, I used to read the newspaper a lot. I remember reading about the Patty Hearst uh, hostage situation and getting engrossed in that. And I remember when I'm really dating my age, but when Nixon was impeached, all of that stuff, I read it like crazy. It just fascinated me. And now I would say the last, probably since the early 2000s, I have not bought a newspaper in a long time. I read online. I read papers online now as far as articles. That's what I do. I don't bother to purchase them anymore. And when I want to read a book, I usually go to the library and pick up a book. Um, every now and then I go to Barnes and Nobles or whatever half price books and get books as well. But I do frequent the library a lot. But you can learn a lot online by reading newspapers online. That's how I keep up to date on what's going on. So I just wanted to say that. And also, I do want to add that just a little comment about the uh, Ebonics or whatever. I remember um, I have a friend who's Puerto Rican, And she always laughed. I remember one time her sister was speaking Spanish, and she made fun of her sister and said, "You know, you don't speak Spanish like that. You trying to just, act like you regular Spanish person." She's like, "We don't Puerto Ricans. We don't speak like that. We kind of speak a like a slang type of like Spanish." So I think as far as what Chill was saying, I think kind of that maybe he was referring to uh, Ebonics in a way like that. He can correct me or whatever if that's not the case, but I think he was referring to something that you grew up doing just because that's what your environment was. But for me, there's a place and a time when you should speak what you need to do, like a job interview or whatever. So I just wanted to add that 2 cents.
Okay. All right. Chill, you have the mic.
I think I'm unmuted. Check one.
Yep,
Okay,
you
cool.
have the mic.
So, I get everything everybody is saying, and to some degree, I do understand and concur. But for me, in the world, especially speaking King's English is a typically, I think everybody needs to know it because it's a general form of communication. It's a spot that we all can agree on to say, hey, if we speak like this, we can understand each other. But the biggest problem, the pigeonholes that we have, is that at the same breath, if someone doesn't speak properly like that or doesn't speak the King's English, or with even things like Crucible Man said, first impressions, and these are all pigeonholes to me because like because they're so what's the word I'm looking for? Could be such as a smoke screen. So I need to be. It's cool if you get a good first impression, but how many first impressions have you had that were great and you were wrong about? So that's not even life is not about that for me. I need to know. I need to be able to see, touch, and feel a person's heart, intent, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because a person could come to me and say, "Hey, they could be first grade first impression, speak the King's English," but at the end of the day, they just want something out of me. They're not. They don't have. They're wolf and they're wolf. And it's just like I gotta, I'm better. I gotta be smarter than that. So in some cases for a job, okay, cool, But like I said, if it depending on what it is, I don't care. If I'm putting a roof on somebody's house, I don't need you to speak, you know, like Carlton when you're on top of this roof. I just don't need you. I don't need that, and that doesn't make him a hard worker, a good worker, or an intelligent person. You know what I'm saying? A lot of immigrants are smarter than us. They don't sound like it to some people, quote unquote. But what does intelligence sound like? And that's the problem. You get somebody that's in the room that sounds intelligent, they're dumb as hell. How many people have that happen? The smartest sounding person in the room, in the conference room, is just like, dang, this guy think he's smart, and he's just really dumber than all. I'll get out. And a lot of times the person that doesn't not the most well spoken has the best ideas in the room, but they're laughing at them because they're just too quote unquote ghetto or country or you know how many times I've been in rooms and seen the smartest person not be the best spoken person. And I'm thinking to myself, hold on, give this person a chance. I have to stop the meeting, even if I'm not leading me. You're so engrossed in his dialect or hers, y'all not even listening to what this person's saying. And it sounds like they're in my brain. I want to say it sounds like they're 3, 4, 5 times smarter than this. You ignorant, proctor of this conversation or this. So it depends. It's just I don't. Of course, it's good, but man, I think it's just a medium we all can communicate and agree upon. But that shouldn't really define any of us, to be honest. Because, like I said, depending on what culture you're from, I can't stop speaking Ebonics when I was a child, but I learned how to speak the King's English, which is good. But I don't think it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm not gonna say, hey, because I speak Ebonics all my life, oh, I was lesser than, or it's a negative. It should be wrong. It should be, you know what I'm saying? I should shun upon it. That's where I'm from. I should be proud of that. I don't know.
Okay, Chill. I understand exactly what you're saying, but I have this question for you. So, um, there are places that I go in Southern California. Um, you know, um, I hang out with some of my friends in South LA, which used to be called South Central. I have friends in East LA, which is largely Latino. And I change the way I speak when I go to various places. But would you agree that if you are, again, maybe it does depend upon the job interview that you're going to, whatever, but would you agree that if you are going to work in certain fields, or if you're in college or something and you're having to get up in front of the class and give a report, whatever, even if you're giving a book report in high school, whatever, wouldn't you say that it is expected of you in front of that interviewer or on that college campus or whatever to speak proper English?
I agree. I completely agree on job aspects, but even then, I feel I cringe at the essence of it. That the fact that you know I'm not to say that it's not some things it is a representation of, like you said, customer service. You don't want anybody that's just that comes off wrong, and this is a business. We're here to make money, so it's an objective to it. But something like school, I mean, I can't be mad at a person that just they're themselves.
But
You
if
know what I'm
you're
saying?
standing in front of the class and you're being graded on a report that you're giving, are you going to speak slang or whatever? Or are you going to speak what you call the King's English
Oh,
or
well, in a
proper
job
whatever?
interview or a job, I'm going to speak as properly as I can. Like I said, you don't want to be disruptive by certain slang because it's a middle ground. It's agreed upon middle ground that everybody doesn't have. It's not a distraction, right? So we can speak the King English. That's there for a reason. I get that, but at school, I can, especially if I put the paper together and I want to just elaborate or talk about the paper. Oh, I'm just going to talk. I don't care about them. I mean, this paper will be grammatically correct than a mug. You know what I'm saying? Because like I do, I have spell check. It's gonna be, or even, I don't need it, but it will be because I got to get an A. I'm just gonna put does and uns and ain'ts, and I'm not gonna do that in the paper. But if I'm just elaborating on the paper, or if I'm in the room, I was in the military and I was in an intel field, and I'd be like, "Hey, what up, Captain?" You know what I'm saying? People would get so pissed because I would treat the captain like a person, and I'm not mad at a person who, if they speak Ebonics a little bit, that's them. I'm not gonna make any no judgment on them. I mean, what's the judgment I'm supposed to make? Hey, they speak Ebonics, so they're horrible or they're stupid. What am I supposed to make? And is that me making that mistake, or is that them making a mistake on how they perceive things?
Okay. Bro, you have the mic. Thank you for waiting patiently.
Well, let me just say this. I think that there is a burning misconception about the term Ebonics. First and foremost, when most people think about Ebonics, the first thing they think about is black people, as if black people and Ebonics go hand in hand. It was a time when we couldn't read, write, or speak. So when we started speaking the quote unquote Ebonic way, it didn't come from us. It came from listening to masters and their families that spoke that way. And we picked up on that and we carried that. Do you know that most of the songs that represent America, like the Star Spangled Banner, there is Ebonics in that. There is Ebonics in Christmas carols and all. There's Ebonics all throughout the fabric of American history. That's not exclusively ours. But let me just say this. If we were to speak Ebonics, would that make us look bad? Because it sure enough didn't make the Star Spangled Banner writer look bad. It sure didn't make Charles Dickens look bad in some of his books. He's an acclaimed literary genius. I'm just saying, it seemed like the knock is when it comes toward us using it. Is that really the knock, or is it bad? Because if it's bad if anybody uses it.
I'm just kind of marinating on what you just said. Very interesting. You and Chill are kind of saying the same thing. I'm gonna pass the mic to Jordan. Jordan, what do you have to say? Oh, yeah, Jordan.
So thank you for passing the mic, and I respect what Jill was saying and Bro was saying, but I want to add in this, like, if you're not speaking what Jill says, King's English, it definitely doesn't makes you a better person or a lesser person if you're not speaking. But I want to make a scenario in front of you, like, if I consider myself, I sit in front of a screen all day and I code. I don't communicate. I communicate very less with people. I just send emails and send updates on Jira, and I write emails. So I have a very less communication within my circle until and unless I'm discussing on something or not. But if I have a good communication skills, and I read books, I have different uh, because I have read different books, I have different perspective about different stuff, different topics. So when it will come towards the conversation, it will help me. It will help me to communicate my thing to others. And what Jill was saying, that it matter for him that somebody touches his heart, but you cannot, you can never touch heart directly. You have some, you should use some medium, which is communication is the medium. So if both of people are using same medium, so you can touch heart very easily, or it would help you to convey your message to the other person. So if we consider this thing, and if we consider our school scenario or office scenario, and if you are good at your own designation, if you are good for your JD, but still you have a very good communication and written skills, it will make you a better resource for that position, and for people around you, you'll be more helpful. But if you are lacking that, it doesn't makes you a less person. But as you started the conversation, that either that person should be hired or not, like Krubelman said that he have a very big experience in hiring and stuff, and the first impression would be the wrong. And if you are trying to convey your message to the team or to the people, it will be very difficult for you.
Okay. All right. Crucible Man, you have the mic.
Yeah, I agree with Jordan, and I don't want to harp too much on the first impressions thing, but I think it's important because you alluded to it, Solid. You go to different neighborhoods and you might speak a little bit differently, and that's perfectly acceptable. We are all adaptable human beings, and we adapt our language, our clothing, our mannerisms. We adapt them to our surroundings and our situations. But I think when it comes to first impressions, we never know when somebody is judging us harshly or negatively. They don't exactly announce it. They file it away. They make judgments. I mean, for a long time, when I was very, very inexperienced in my early working days, I mean, I was just inexperienced is putting it very, very, very kindly. But I spoke well. And so I had all kinds of positive qualities conferred upon me that I didn't deserve and I didn't earn. Eventually, I got around to it, but in the beginning, no. I made advancements based on the fact that I spoke well. So I made a first impression under the right circumstances. And to Chill's point, and to Rev Bro's point, I don't think there's anything wrong with slang or ebonics or any cultural spin on the language. We all bring something to the English language, but I think there's a time and a place. Like when Will was talking about, treating the captain like a person. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I'm not a military person. But I think once you've established an impression, a positive one, now you've got some latitude. You've got some freedom to kind of move around. You've created a positive impression. People are judging you favorably. Now, if you want to slip into slang or ebonics or something like that, you've built up a little bit of a reputation and people are already seeing you favorably. So when you speak in slang or some other cultural, form of language. There's a time and a place for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but you need to know your situation and be aware of who you're talking to, what the setting is, and kind of respond accordingly.
Okay. Hold on. I left someone out. I miss Shy Lady. Shy Lady, I'm gonna pop over to you.
Oh, I was just going to say that going back to Revolutionary Bros comment about the slaves and the masters, I worked in the insurance industry and I worked for, I was licensed for some of the southern states, and you would be surprised if you haven't been around white people from the South. Sometimes I didn't know who I was actually speaking with, and then some of the things that they would say, like going yonder, and just things you don't hear anymore. It would just amaze me that, and when I started listening to them, and hearing some of the things that they would say, it reminded me that that's where a lot of the slaves got their sayings from white their white slave masters, because they a lot of like, I'm from the north, but when I would work with people from the south, they say fixing to a lot. White southerners use the word fixing. I'm fixing to do this a lot. And so it kind of like steered me, because I grew up in the north and I had never heard white people talk like that. And so I would just hear a lot of things, like even country sayings that I'd never heard anybody up north that was white say. So I'm just agreeing with Revolutionary Bro that the slaves got a lot of their languages and dialect from the slave masters.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna pop over to Chill.
Yeah. So I feel like, I guess the thing is for me is that is the onus all. I think the backwards part for me, because I rub people the wrong way, as y'all can probably imagine, initially, until somebody gets to know me. That's just my life. I've always, it's from young.
Okay.
I
Okay.
would,
Stop. Okay. Stop for a moment. Are you saying that you rub people the wrong way because of the way you speak, or just because of the
no,
way
just
you are?
because I'm typically I'm being myself, and
Okay.
sometimes it can come off like, or how you can say something and then someone take it the wrong way, and then
Yes.
you're like, it's just something that happens to me a lot. It's in my life in general. I don't mean anything by it. I might just be speaking to a friend or something, and they're like, what you say? No, so I've had it a lot happen. That it's not favorable initially, because I just maybe not adhere to the laws of the land completely, like maybe the professional laws of the land. I might be that guy in the in the meeting speaking a little bit, ebonics or something like that. So initially they're like, who is this guy? Who is this idiot? But then I speak and I speak a little bit more, and then I can show my vocabulary is decent. So and they're like, okay, well maybe he's not so bad. And a lot of times they're like, okay, well you know what, cool. So, but is the onus on us as people, as intelligent people, as I would feel like we are in here, to to be like, all right, let me give a good first impression, or should the onus be on grown-ups to know that, hey, you know what, people are more than just their surface, and I think that's my like outlook on it. When I see somebody that I necessarily may not agree with, they have a story, I don't know it, so I can't necessarily pass judgment initially. But it's for a job, yes, because you got a certain job to do. Like I said, what Jordan was saying, I think we agree upon that, because like I said, it's a medium. That's what I would take it as, a medium. There's a middle ground of where we can all have a decent dialect, and that's what it's for. But as far as first impressions and judgments, that's the part of where it kind of gets sketchy for me. And I'm because I, like kind of like Revolutionary said, in some ways, like that guy that speaks broken English doesn't mean he can't fix your sink or your roof or your plumbing just better than that guy that can speak perfect English. So, it, I mean, it is contextual, but for the most part, I think it's just for means of communication, and that's where it should stay at a lot of times.
Okay. Bro, you have the
Um.
mic.
Okay. All right. Okay. I see that you can hear me. All right. Listen. Do you know that a lot of times when we interact with certain people in certain capacities, like going to get a job or going to get, something like of extreme importance, the onus is not on speaking properly. The onus is about comfortability. You want to make the people around you comfortable, and they want to be comfortable around you. Well, one of the ways to do that is through speaking properly. So nobody gets to judge people as far as being moronic or this or that or whatever. They feel comfortable now. Once they feel that level of comfort, ask the NBA, ask the NFL. That's no longer a problem because you got all of these $1 million suit uh, 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 moguls in one room, and then you got all of these quote unquote intellectual peasants, which is make up of the NBA and the NFL. And you know how you know that? 90% of them have been to college, and probably 80% don't have a degree. So we know they're not the best spokespersons in the world, but they're so enamored, the suits are so enamored with them, they don't mind putting them in front of cameras every night, whether they speak Ebonics or not, because the part that they needed to serve got over, and that's they were comfortable around them. Once they were made to feel comfortable around those athletes, it no longer mattered.
Okay. All
Do
right.
you understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand perfectly what you're saying. So I want to throw this out here to you guys because I know we've been talking about grammar and what have you. So I want to get more into the spelling. For me, it bugs me when I'm reading something, and usually it's on social media, and maybe I should not put so much importance on it. But when you're trying to read something and people are writing, first of all, it's in small case. No, you know, I mean, can we know when the sentence starts, when it ends? There's no periods. People are just writing, and literally they can write an entire paragraph, and there's no periods. I, that just bugs me. So, can you tell me how much is spelling and the fact that you can use a period and a comma, and then there's that semicolon. A lot of people, they don't know what a semicolon is, and they don't know, when you're supposed to use it and what have you. But how important is it for you guys in terms of spelling?
Can, can
And
I
go ahead,
can I
bro.
answer that? All right, listen. That is super important. The sentence that you were talking about, the sentence dynamic that you were talking about with no punctuation, and that's called the run-on. And
And
a
running on
lot,
and on and on and on and on
yes,
when you're
yes,
writing a
with no
paragraph.
punctuation. Yes, with no punctuation at all. It's called the run-on. And what a lot of us don't know is, all right, remember you were in school and they used to teach about the sentence structure and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know a lot of us mentally, and I ain't just talking about black people, I'm talking about blacks, whites, Hispanic, a lot of us checked out at that point because nobody ever made us feel the importance of learning how to write properly. Like when I was in the third grade, I couldn't fathom how important proper writing was because when I got my point across as a third grader, I did it verbally. I didn't have to write a letter to my mom and tell her what I wanted for Christmas. I just told her out my mouth. So, but the thing about it is, if you have people in your life that dwell on the importance of spelling, of grammar, of punctuation, and all that good stuff, do you know that's when it becomes important to your life? That's when it has a meaning. Everybody didn't have that.
And you bring up some good points. I'm going to go to Jordan. Is Jordan? Are you on?
Yeah, I'm on. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So
So
on, yeah, sure,
no,
you can
I'm
ask.
just going to ask you about spelling.
Yeah. So regarding spelling, I'll second Revolutionary Bro. What he said, I totally agree with that. That punctuation and spellings are very important, and I also remember when I was in fifth or sixth grade, we used to write a letter to our parents asking them about our favorite thing or asking them about some present. So yeah, we were not that much serious at that time that how much important writing would be in future. I also regret that I'm not very much, I don't come from an English background, and I'm not very much good with spellings myself, although I have participated in spelling bees tests and when I was in school. But still, I'm not a person who is very much good with spellings. But I still think that spellings and punctuation should be most important thing when you're writing something and when you are conveying your message to someone.
Okay. Crucible Man, you have the mic.
Yes, I agree with both Jordan and Rev Bro. When you're is particularly around when Rev Bro was talking about sentence structure. Now, I happen to be a kind of a language geek, and I remember those days, and I remember kind of scrunching up my nose and going, "Why do we have to know this stuff?" But again, I was a geek, and I kind of took to it more so than my classmates did. But I think spelling is a subset of grammar. It's right up there in terms of people judge. They judge fairly or unfairly your intelligence, and I know I've met 1,000,000,000, 100,000,000 people who love to joke about the fact that they're not very good at spelling, and they make light of it. And we're all not good at lots of things. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at technology, and so we all have things that we're not good at. But for some reason, spelling has taken on a secondary role, and people don't think of it as a reflection on them at all. And spelling, I think, is very elemental. And if you don't spell, you don't read. Period. Now I know I'm generalizing, but if you read regularly, you recognize words and you know when a word is not spelled correctly. So I think spelling, it reflects on us in ways that we don't necessarily want to allow for. I mean, it's kind of a human nature thing. The things we're not good at, we tend to downplay. Well, that's not that important. Well, that's not that big of a deal because we want to give ourselves a break. We all do it. It's human nature. But I think spelling tips our hand as to other things. And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. People are constantly judging other people all the time, silently and assiduously, and they're not always announcing what they're concluding. So again, grammar and spelling are such basic things that open up a window into to allows people to go in a million different directions on us that may or may not be accurate. So I think spelling is a big deal.
Okay. Chill. You have the mic.
I think he actually out. Christopher, man, he's on point. I'm not. Period. Like, there's a lot of people that have that same sentiment, but for me, growing up, I feel like I needed to fight the cliche sometimes, be better than the typical thinking. Um, I'm a hyper analytical, in some rights, and to a detriment, and that will be one of my detriments because for me, like I'm the person that cares less about what people think, and I think that's their problem a lot of more times than not than mine. And so what I need to be is myself, a authentic person of myself, you know what I'm saying, myself. And if they want to pass judgment, then that's on them. Hey, go ahead, have at it, idiot. And that person could possibly give me a job one day, possibly get. But if that's the case, I don't want it. You know what I mean? If that's what they're judging me off of, then I don't want it. And in some cases, you are right though. If you're a lazy writer, you could be a lazy person. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I can see that as well. But uh, typically, if a person can't spell accordingly, you know what I would think and judge it? I was like, well, they're a bad speller. That's what I would think, and I'll leave it at that. So, yeah, I do get what y'all saying because it's and writing is totally different from speaking, right? It's a form of communication that you got to read and to convey. That's an art in itself. To be able to convey, especially in like poetry or smaller terms or lesser words, to get across to someone properly and get your point across without them, being about them words being misunderstood. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I can do it. And I think it's an art form in doing it, but it's a use in doing it. But if somebody can't do it as good as I can, or they're not great at it, you can always get better at things. And then a lot of times when you're not good at something, you get help. You got to spell check, and like they may not have, your words may not turn red as for in word, but they may turn blue, saying, "Hey, you grammatically incorrect." Correct. So that it's technology is evolving, and that's the way you can learn as well. And so, hey, you always can turn to a person and say, "Hey, you know what? Help me out with this. I know I'm not great at spelling, so Susie, could you please help me out with that?" Typically, before I send out any memo, that's just a rule of thumb. No matter if I think I'm good or not at writing, you're gonna have your coworker check it. You know what I'm saying? No matter how good you are, that's a rule of thumb for me, especially like in business settings. Have 2 or 3 people look at it before it goes out. Those things I do. So there's ways to get around all of that.
Okay. Pook, you have the mic. Thank you for waiting patiently.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
I wanted to comment on the question that you had about the social media and how you see sentences running and running and running. And I think one piece we always forget is the exceptional dumbing down of America is what I'm going to call it, where we've all become lazy. Not all of us, but some of us have become very, very lazy, and we do talk to text. And unfortunately, when you do that and you don't take the time to actually write something, those posts and everything else just don't pick up those sentences where you're stopping and they're not actually adding the correct punctuation. And I know in my particular case, I have a lot of people that I work with or that work for me. And there are some that frustrate me because I say, hey, hold on a second, because you need to do it this way when you're on your computer. Oh, well, what do you mean? I can't do it on my phone? And I said, well, no, you need to log in from the computer because it reacts differently. Well, I don't have time for that. And I find a lot of times people are talking to text, and that becomes a huge issue. The spelling is usually caught, but at the same time, the punctuation never is.
Pook, you make a good point, because at one point, I was using talk to text, and I had to stop because I realized that I wasn't getting periods and commas and, what have you. And I can't use it, because, all you're doing is sending out just a jumble of words.
Right. And additionally, it's made everybody lazy, and they don't have to write anymore. They don't have to come up with creative writing and those kind of things, because they can just talk to text. And then I don't understand all the abbreviations that are out there, like IKR, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And unfortunately, I've used them sometimes, and I need to stop, and I try to catch myself and say, no, let me not do that.
Well, you bring up a point, because years ago, I was hiring someone, and I received I asked for a resume with a cover letter. I specifically said that. I say, if you do not send a cover letter, then I'm not even going to pay attention. And I did that for a reason, because you send a cover letter. I know people don't even probably use cover letters anymore. But I specifically said that for a reason, because I wanted to see how you write. I wanted to see how you're able to talk about yourself or whatever and put it in a sentence. And I wanted to see if you use your commas, if, I just wanted to see if everything was correct. And the majority of the the resumes that I got back, there were no covers. And then a lot of the ones that I received,
they did it on their phone.
Well, either they did it on their phone, or if they didn't, you look at this like, seriously? And you're how old? And you're, excuse me? And I found that the people the person who I ended up hiring for this position was an older woman. She was in her 50s. And, and I realized that she was old school and she understood, what the task was, whatever, and she knew how to do it. Everyone who was in their 20s, and I'm a lot older than a lot of people, a lot of people who were in their 20s, they had no clue. And it was just shocking to me. It was just really shocking to me, and I didn't hire them. So, Pook, you
I
want to respond to that?
I've done the same thing, and I don't put too much emphasis on the cover letter itself, but I will put in what I call a KPI, or like for anybody that knows, it's a key performance indicator. And I'll put something in there to be more instructional and say, okay, have you read this? And I've been known in the past to create random quizzes for some of my teams and just say, okay, whoever gets all these answers right wins a prize. Okay. And what's really funny is at the very top of it, I'll have them put their name and their date, and then I have instructions. But at the very tail end of those instructions, it says, if you have read this instruction, please go to the last page, sign, and put a smiley face. And you would be surprised that only 10 or 20% of those people that have taken stuff like that actually read the instructions, because everybody else is saying, hey, how are you done so fast? And they're answering all the questions. But it was a clear indicator of who doesn't read the instructions. But
And
I do
who
have one
does?
thing. Yeah, right. I do have one thing to say about Shy Lady's comment about being from the South and having this slang and it being related to the slavery days. I grew up in the South. As a matter of fact, I grew up in the Williamsburg, Virginia area, which was the home of the birth of our nation. And we had huge amounts of history there. And I can tell you that not one person in my family has ever, even with 300 plus years of history there, I can't name one person that's ever used the word fixin'. we
Okay.
just don't do it. And I think it may be different the further south you go, but I think that there's a huge division between how you speak and what etiquette you use, especially at the table. I know for a fact that when I've visited some places in Georgia, it was unbelievably casual how they conducted themselves at dinner. But if I used the wrong fork at dinner, I would get slapped across the face by my grandmother. So I will say that I don't think it's necessarily the South, and I'm not sure exactly where Honey Boo Boo was from, but that's probably part of the problem.
She was from the South. I can't remember what state. Okay, bro. Thank you for waiting so patiently. You have the mic.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. And I gotta ask that.
I
I
know,
got
and
you.
I always have to laugh because that just tickles me. But go ahead.
Let me just say this to Pook's point. He didn't have the liberty of not having words, sounds, or anything in his arsenal. You got to remember, I said that those black people in the South piggyback that that dialect or that language, whatever you want to call it, based on the fact that they were using pure emulation. They were imitating the things that they heard. See, Pook could say what he said because he already had words. He already, he already was speaking the language. Of course, you don't digress in your efforts to learn. Learning is a progressive thing, not the thing that you digress at. But if you don't have word or sound or anything, you just pick up what's around you. Sorry.
Okay. Shy Lady, you have the mic.
Okay, excuse me. I just wanted to respond to Pook so he can get clarification on what I was saying. Like I said, I worked in the insurance industry for many years, and the people that I spoke with from mostly rural areas of the South, North Carolina, West Virginia, Alabama, places like that. And these people were not educated. And it sounds like to me that you're speaking about people in Virginia that you grew up around who were probably college educated. They knew King James English or whatever, proper English. That is what you're referring to. I'm referring to some people that were white and were not college educated. And I've talked to thousands of them over the years. And trust me, there were lots of them who said, fixing to, I reckon, I'm going up yonder. And there were people who, believe it or not, people in West Virginia I talked to that were, and I didn't know how they were living, making $7 an hour, asking for lost wages, working two jobs. And these were white people. These are probably not the kind of white people you knew, but these were white people that I worked with, and they do exist. And I believe that most of America is probably like them. Most of America is rural, and these are probably the majority of white Americans. The college educated white people that you may be referring to are probably in the minority compared to the majority of white Americans throughout the country. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, I'm going to jump over to Pook. Do you want to do a rebuttal or answer to what Shy Lady said?
No, because I just can't find the reasoning for associating it with race. And I think that that slang habit comes from every race across the board. And I don't know if education plays as much of a role as we may think it does.
Okay, Shy Lady, you want to answer that and how it pertains to race?
Yes, I want to answer that because Black people in America, most of our roots are from the South. We came over to America on ships that landed in the South to work on plantations where the soil was rich. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, North Carolina. That's why I'm talking about race, because as Black people, that's where we come from. And if we are in the South, we had slave masters that were white. That's who we learned our language from because we came over from Africa not knowing the language. We had to learn their language. They changed our names and we had to learn their language and their culture in order to survive, in order to do the work. So I'm not trying to make it out to be a race. That's just the way it was. And as Blacks, we still have that Southern. My parents grew up in Illinois. My grandparents are from Illinois, but still, my great grandparents and great after that, they're from the South, and that's the culture that I know. And most of the Blacks that still live in the South, they know that because they learned it from white masters. It's been passed on to generation. And I still have family members um, that are in the South on my in-law side. And if you go in the grocery store, you'll hear white people that sound exactly almost like my relatives with a different dialect, but they use the same words.
Okay, I am going to pass the mic, but I'm going to give Pook an opportunity to if you understand where Shy Lady's coming from.
I do. And with all due respect, I'm not trying to integrate racial bias in any way. And I think that I have never really looked at it that way, but I will consider that and kind of dig into it a little bit more and think about more of what you're aligning it with, for sure.
Okay, Crucible Man, you have the mic. Crucible Man, you
Sorry, I
there?
was muted. I was
Okay.
muted. Yeah, I mean, I think they both make good points. I don't think it's a racial thing either. I think it's a geographic thing. It's a regional thing. There are similarities between how people of black race and white race, I think, talk in the South. It's a dialect thing, I think, more than anything. But I do agree with also what Rev Bro said. When you don't have your own language, let's face it, and I don't mean this. This may be a clumsy analogy, but kids when they're first born and they're toddlers, they don't have a language. They don't, and if I think there's been some sociological or anthropological experiments done over the years, or maybe they're just hypothetical. The boy that was raised by wolves. I don't know if that's a real story or not, but you pick up the mannerisms and you pick up the language of whatever is makes up your surroundings. So, and if you don't have anything, you pick up on whatever is being taught or spoken in that particular environment, and none of us have any control over that. But I think it's an important thing to make note of in terms of the of slavery and white masters. It's a very valid point. I never really thought of it that way, but it's interesting to think about how people with no language, whoever they are forced to adapt or adopt, I should say, the language that's being spoken around them. It's a matter of survival.
Okay. Chill, you have the mic. We're covering a lot of ground today. Chill. Your mic keeps going on and off. Now you're on. And now he's gone. Okay, I'm going to go to Bro.
Yes. All right. I'm here. All right. You ain't even got to answer it. I'm here. All right. Listen. Listen. Solid Blue. You that lady. You are really that lady. Listen. Do you know when blacks were over in Africa? I don't know what tribe they were from. I don't know which language they spoke or none of that. But can you imagine had white people been taken from Europe over into Africa, been sent was placed around various tribes speaking various languages and dialects, and then asked not only to be proficient at speaking, but viewed for not speaking well when it will be full known whoever they were around would be who they would speak. Their language would be a carbon copy of those who they were present of. Now, when it comes to us, they won't extend that. See, and I understand Pook because Pook probably he never had. See, white privilege means that you don't have to go deep. You just have to be on the surface. He probably never looked at it like that one day in his life. Crucible Man probably never thought about that because they never had to. Who do we speak like if we speak like anybody other than the people we're around? Who do they speak like? Didn't they speak as children from the households that they grew up in? They didn't speak like a child in my house because they never been in there. See, we got to, I swear, when we think, we got to go way past, we got to begin scratching surfaces like we're cats and getting to the bottom of some things because we really sound crazy or arrogant when we just speak from the surface like that. We really got to go deeper.
I agree with you 100%. And what you said, in my opinion, you could have said for the shows that I had on Monday and Tuesday. Chill, you are back. You have the mic.
I am back. When I get phone calls, I get muted for some odd reason. I can't get through. But uh, One thing I want to say really quick about the subject that you're just talking about is that I don't think it's when you come over and you have to learn English. You do your best. We did our best to communicate. Now it becomes a dialect. Some words were about the people we were around, but some things are just we don't know the rules and regulations. So black folks just come up with their own thing, so we can form them. And so right now, especially in today's society, everybody really is becoming one jumble, especially with social media. Songs sound alike, music sounds like you used to know, you know, from West Coast to East Coast to South. Now you may not know at all where somebody's from because everybody's talking, dressing, and acting the same, and more, as the world gets older. And I believe that as far as English is with the same. So us as a culture, we're influenced by certain things, but I don't. At the end of the day, I don't think that has anything to do with. We still need that medium, is what I'm saying. Like I mean, we know the history of it, but that medium still needs to be there for us to communicate, whether it's talking, whether it's writing, however, it's a good medium, you know what I mean? And we all need to be able to do it, you know what I'm saying? And to make things easier, like say I believe a Crucible Man said we're being lazy. Some might say we're being efficient, right? It's not that you can't do it. If a lazy person is a lazy person, but what if you give a person that's not lazy a more efficient way to do things? Think about how much they can get done in one day. When that person used to have to type a whole letter and take 2 hours, now I can get on my pad and text to speech, and that doesn't necessarily mean I don't know how to go back and edit my text to speech. I can know how to put a comma in there or a period in there. You know what I'm saying? But it's way quicker to me just on a typewriter, click 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 click. You know what I'm saying? So that's and think about how it frees your day up now with your kids. So there's benefits to it, and there's a reason for it. I don't necessarily think for some would say it's working smarter, not harder. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we're picking on this area, but we all drive cars, we all fly planes, and we can't say, "Oh, I'm back in the day. It built character to walk 13 miles in the snow to school every day." And it did. But who wants to do that? It's like it's. I mean, you can't just pick one area then don't say anything about the others. Technology is for a reason. I don't think it's just to be lazy. It's for efficiency. And so, but that doesn't give you an excuse to not know how to do these things. A lot of times you can. I don't know if y'all know, when you speak and talk to text, you can say comma, you can say period, and it actually puts it there. Like, so if you go back and try it, say comma, or say, hey, I was at work today, period, and then I went over to the store, comma. You can actually, it'll insert that. That's so technology gets so smart that it'll insert that. It's ways to manipulate it. You got to learn. But if you wouldn't know that, I could say, well, y'all don't know that because y'all being lazy. Learn technology.
Well, Chill, I can honestly say that I did say when I was doing talk to text, usually I was in a hurry while I was doing it. And when I said period, it wrote out, it spelled out the word period. So, so that
Well,
didn't work, but I will
it
go
depends
back.
on your software as well. But
Well,
but
I will
but now
go
they have
back and I'll check
evolved.
it out. All right. Let's see. Poop, before I go to you, I just want to bring up Frankie's comment. She says, I'm legally a mute, so words are not as important to me. Frankie, most of us on the panel, we know your story. Uh, and I totally understand. And I actually think that's your way of getting a bit of humor. So, um, but I hope you
Well, can
still
I
know how
say
to
one more
spell.
thing?
Yes, chill.
That's something that she reminded me of touching on. I am I don't know what you call it, by hearing the touch, that whatever that language is. You got kinetic, you got whatever
You
the
talking about
basis
Braille?
of language are. No, no, no. Just the ways people learn.
Oh, okay.
Some people learn by reading. Some people learn by seeing. Some people learn by what I'm saying, things of that nature. Whatever. There's like 3 or 4 different ways or something. And reading was the least one. I mean, so for me, school was always difficult. Not that I wasn't smart or super intelligent. It was just harder. It was just not my best way of learning. A lot of times I would I would learn it, I'll go back to I can't read and get to the questions. I should go to the questions first and then read. You know what I'm saying? So I can answer it. And so that's how I would get through college. I learned that like just sitting there reading and reading and reading that didn't help me. I would go back to the questions, see where the questions at, and then seek out the answers, or just be able to sit there and have put all my intention and attention into listening to a teacher teach this out. And so everybody's different. I mean, it's always good to know something, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way. And because I learned completely different from just reading a book all day. I just
Okay. All right. Pook, you have the mic. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You have the mic.
I'm driving. I'm interested in hearing all of the conversation. I'm driving.
All right. Well, on that note, then I'm going to pass the mic around. Everyone can give their last words, last thoughts, last 5, 10 cents, $1.50. Crucible Man, let's start with you. You have the mic. Crucible Man?
Sorry, I was
Okay.
muted. I was muted. Sorry. Yeah, I think this is an excellent topic. I think it was something that's overlooked in our society today. And I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. I think first impressions matter. I think grammar matters. I think spelling matters. And I think just because we as individuals may want to downplay something, I think it was Chill Will, or maybe it was Rev Bro, made a point. If you're not good at something, you need to seek help. You need to understand the importance of it, and it's got to be a challenge for people who aren't real good at spelling or grammar, and it comes, it's very difficult for them to be comfortable with it, but to also reconcile the fact that it is important. It does open up a window for people to start judging us fairly or unfairly, favorably or unfavorably. And at the end of the day, things like spelling and grammar do matter in ways large and small that we probably don't even think about.
Okay. Shy Lady, you have any last words, last thoughts?
Everybody keep reading. Reading is knowledge. Knowledge is power. That's it.
All right. Well, that was quick and to the point. Bro, you have the mic.
Yeah, you know what? I'm a second what Shy Lady said. We got to keep advancing our knowledge. Like a lot of us reach a certain point in life, and I think we just say, "Well, this is it, and that's all." Whenever you do such a thing, you deny yourself the pleasure that come from knowing. I think knowing is everything. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go join the Gnostic Church. You know how you spell that, right? It's GNOSTIC. That means that they are the knowers of knowledge. And that's what I'm going to join. I'm going to find me a Gnostic church. Thank you.
Okay, Chillwell, you have the mic, but I put something in the chat to you. Are you on Twitter?
I am, and I can't remember my name. Like, I am horrible with social media. I typically post and don't do too much reading. I have like a one day I go reading throughout social media. I do enough
The reason why I'm
other
asking is
reading.
because I wanted to send a message to you.
Okay, okay,
So
cool, cool.
if you can remember what it
You got
is, if
Instagram?
you,
You got an Instagram?
I do have
I,
Insta. So yeah.
yeah, if you should put your Instagram, I can do that. That's a lot easier for me, and probably
Well,
I'll
my
see that.
Instagram is very simple. It is Solid Blue Sister. That is my Instagram. So
We
if you
might.
can,
Okay,
yeah.
it's
So if you
SBS follow
can,
my. Okay, here you go. I'm following
uh,
you already.
okay, then
And you
good.
never
Then
follow
I
me back.
can
I don't know if you follow me
send.
back.
I will do that, and I want to send you a message. Okay, so
Chill
you
will
now
underscore
have the
CLE.
mic. Do you
Yeah,
have any
chill will
last
underscore
words?
CLE. Right
CCLE.
on.
Okay.
So I think that's awesome. And Crucible man, I get you what you're saying, and I agree. completely, but I am definitely obviously against the grain on a lot of things. Just about, I just like my thought process has developed over time. I think it's very important for a man to have his own 2 feet in the room of a million people and to be himself and stand on his own stance when it makes sense to him. And that's what I appreciate in people. And same thing out of you, man. That's your importance, and you stick to it and you articulate well as to why that position is. That's awesome, and that's what I respect the most about people in general, especially passionate people. And a lot of times, like people, like especially get passionate here, people get mad, and I don't. I like to see somebody that people that care, So that's a good thing. But as far as down, you mentioned something like when we're not good at something, we kind of downplay it. It's nothing wrong with being aware of what you're not good at and become better. It's one type of philosophy. Try to concentrate on improving your weaknesses or accentuate your strengths. So it depends on how you want to do that. I learn how to circumvent things. Like I said, get help with spelling if I can't do it well. Sometimes it's just biologically. I'm not 7 foot. I maybe not have the brain that somebody else has to do grammatic corrections and see those type of things. It's the thought process of it. So we're going to get help. Because biologically, we can't be other people. But the basic fundamentals, I believe, you do have to have. And it's nothing necessarily. It's just about perception, how you feel things are. But I don't necessarily think just because you can't be good at something, you're not good at something. Maybe you don't like it. I could be good at a bunch of things. Like English, my English teacher said, "Yeah, you're gonna be an English teacher one day." I said, "No, I can't stand it." Well, you get an A's. I just didn't like it. So yeah, yeah. But I get what you're saying, bro, and it's all important. It's at the end of the day, the fundamentals are always important, just for communication alone. And thank everybody for listening.
Well, thank you for coming on. I'm still tickled that you come to my show now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Pook, what do you have to say, my friend?
I like the topic, number one, but I will admit that I have a content proofer that's on my team, and there's probably two or three of us that send stuff over to her all the time, and she's amazing, and she makes sure it's right, and then she sends it back, and it's pretty much done. Um, I take the initiative to try to figure it out. I think more so on punctuation than anything else is where she makes all of her corrections, and then she packages everything up, and it's a done deal for us. But I think this day and age, we need somebody like that around us just to bounce things off of and say, "Hey, this is kind of what I want," and rewrite it and make it look good.
Okay, all right.
And I'm
Well, guys,
I'm
I'm sorry. Go
comfortable with
ahead.
that. I love her being on my team.
Well, when we're not sure of something, we're not sure, how things should sound or if they're written, the right way. We should be able to pass it off to someone else to say, "Hey, what do you think? Do I need to correct something, change some words?" I think that we all probably need to have someone, if possible, to do that for us. But again, I'm this last week I have gone past my hour, definitely past my hour, definitely past my hour and a half. But you guys, you know, again, you guys make my show wouldn't be the way it is without you, and that is a fact. So I thank you. Tomorrow, I'm hoping. Thank you very much, Boop. Um, you know, Tomorrow is Thursday. Thursday is supposed to be my fun show, so I hope you guys come because I really want to know. It's about being busted. Would you prefer to be busted by your parents or by your partner's parents, or would you prefer to bust your kids, or do you prefer to bust your kids, somewhere else? And yes, I'm talking about finding if someone found you or your children or whatever in a compromising position. So tomorrow's supposed to be my fun show, so I hope we can have fun with this because I know this week has been serious. So on that note, guys, always speak your truth. Go where the wind takes you. Pook, I'm sorry, Chill. I'm already following you back on Insta. I'm going to drop a message to you as soon as I sign off here. But everyone, go where the wind takes you, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye. And where's my music? There we go. This was a good show, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, bro. Shy Lady, Crucible Man, thank you. Petty Deb, Solemn Narte, we're signing off, but thank you for coming on. And Frankie, wow, you're up to 20,161. Thank you. And Crazy Lady, and Jordan, I know you guys are off, but thank you for coming on. And for everyone else, okay, the music is relaxing, so I will be quiet and just listen to the music.
That is not what I'm saying, Salvo. I'm just saying I like the music.
Well, bro, I will say this. I would like you even better if someone sent me an email.
Okay. Salvo, I just worked so much. That's all. I'm sorry.
I'm going to drop it in the chat right now. It's so simple. SolidBlueSister@gmail.
SolidBlueSister@gmail. Okay. All right. Thank you.
And are you on Twitter or Insta or TikTok?
Nope. I don't get down with all other social media. I know.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to use my platform for November.
I hear you.
So.
But
all
this
right,
was
guys.
a good show, though. I enjoyed
well,
this.
thank
All
you.
Right.
Thank you. I thought it was a good show too. I will see you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully. Yeah. Okay. See you later, guys. Bye.